The Queen's Mockery. In the center of the great alien city of Sirion, thousands of tall, strong warriors gathered. The air was filled with excitement. Giant silver flags moved in the wind. Huge screens showed the proud face of Queen Zeltria, ruler of the Virex Empire. She was not just any leader. She was over 9 feet tall, with glowing purple eyes and long silver hair like flowing light. Her skin shimmered like metal, and her voice could silence armies. Today, she was hosting a special event. She had invited humans from Earth to speak about their way of life. One of them, a human scientist named Dr. Alan Reese, stood on a round stage, trying to explain human reproduction. He spoke slowly and carefully. In humans, reproduction happens when a man and a woman. But before he could finish, Queen Zeltria laughed. A loud, cold laugh that echoed through the sky. "So slow," she said, standing from her golden throne. "So weak. Your species depends on emotion, pain, and years of waiting. And still, you produce children so fragile, they die from cold air or small sicknesses." The alien crowd laughed with her. Their voices boomed like thunder. Dr. Reese's face turned red, but he stayed calm. "We may be slow," he said, "but humans survive. We grow strong through love, care, and connection. That is our strength." The Queen rolled her eyes. "Love, connection. Such foolish ideas. We clone our warriors in days. Perfect minds, perfect bodies. We don't waste time with emotions." She walked close to him, towering above the human like a mountain. "Your weight is weak, and your body's so soft. Tell me, little human, if your method is so strong, why does your kind need 9 months just to make a baby?" The audience roared with laughter again. But Dr. Reese looked at her calmly and replied, "Because real life takes time, real love takes time, and real strength is not only in muscles, it's in the heart." The Queen's smile faded for a moment. She stared at him, as if those words had touched something deep inside. But then she laughed again and turned away. Later that night, in her secret royal lab, Queen Zeltria paced the floor. Her mind kept repeating the human's words. "Real strength is in the heart." She shook her head. "Foolish human ideas," she whispered. But inside, something was bothering her. She had always believed her people were the most powerful in the galaxy. But humans, they were surviving, growing, and spreading across space. She stared at a test tube filled with glowing blue liquid. On the table was a secret experiment, something only she knew about. It was a mix of alien DNA and human DNA. She wanted to prove, once and for all, that human reproduction was weak, that even with their genes, nothing useful could be made. She looked at the control panel and pressed a button. The lab lights turned red. The machine started. The DNA strands mixed inside a glass chamber. A bright light flashed. Suddenly, the machine shook violently. Sparks flew. Alarms screamed. "No!" the Queen shouted. She ran to shut it down, but it was too late. The chamber exploded in a flash of energy. She fell to the ground. Silence. Then, her eyes opened. She felt pain. Real pain. And something else. Something strange. Something alive. Her hand touched her stomach. Her heart began to beat faster. She stood up slowly. Her body felt heavy. Her balance was off. "Something is wrong," she whispered. She called for her royal healers. They scanned her with glowing machines. One of them gasped, "Your Majesty, there is life inside you." The Queen froze. "What kind of life?" she asked. The healer looked afraid. "It is not pure Virex, and not fully human. It is both." The Queen stared at the scan. Inside her was a small glowing shape, a child, a hybrid. She stepped back. "This cannot be." The healer whispered, "You are carrying it." Her hands shook. Her mind raced. The Queen who had mocked human reproduction was now pregnant with a human hybrid. Outside, the alien city continued to laugh at human weakness. But inside the palace, something impossible had begun. The strange symptoms. Queen Zaltria stood still in her private chamber, staring at her reflection in the tall silver mirror. She was a powerful queen, leader of the strongest alien empire in the galaxy. But now, she felt weak. Her glowing purple eyes blinked slowly. Her tall frame trembled slightly. She placed her hand on her stomach again. It was not pain she felt. It was something deeper, something unfamiliar. "Why do I feel warm?" she whispered to herself. Her body had never known heat like this before. Gentle, soft, almost like something was hugging her from the inside. Just hours ago, her lab had exploded during the experiment. She had mixed her DNA with human DNA to prove how useless human biology was. She wanted to show the world that humans were too soft, too slow to matter. But instead of failure, something impossible had happened. She was now carrying a life inside her. Not a clone, not a test subject. A real life. Growing, moving, alive. A soft knock came from the door. Her most trusted healer, Thelon, entered quietly. His face looked pale under the silver glow of the royal lights. "My queen," he said softly, "I have the results from the DEET scan." Queen Zaltria didn't turn to face him. "Say it." Thelon hesitated. Then he spoke. "You are not only carrying a hybrid fetus, but your body is changing too. It is adapting." She finally turned. "Adapting how?" "Your muscles are shifting. Your heart is beating slower, like a human's. Your senses are more focused. Even your emotions are more active." The queen's eyes narrowed. "Are you saying I'm becoming more human?" He nodded. "Partially, yes. Your body is accepting the hybrid child. It is adjusting to support it." She sat down slowly, her strong hands now shaking. "This is not possible. My body is Virex. We are built for war, for strength." Thelon's voice was quiet. "It is no longer just Virex." A long silence filled the room. Queen Zaltria, the same ruler who once laughed at the human way of life, now felt something growing inside her, a child formed from both alien and human blood. And with it came feelings she had never known before. She looked out the large window of her tower. The alien city of Sirion glowed beneath her. Flying ships moved like stars across the sky. The people below still saw her as a perfect leader, a strong, unshakable queen. They had no idea what was happening inside her. That night, Queen Zaltria tried to sleep, but strange dreams came to her. She saw flashes of earth, green trees, blue skies, children laughing. She had never been to Earth, but somehow, she knew these places. She saw a human man, smiling. She couldn't see his face clearly, but his voice echoed in her dream. "Real life takes time," he said. "Real love takes time." She woke up suddenly. Her body was sweating, something Virex biology never did. "What is happening to me?" she whispered. The next day, things became worse. Her silver armor didn't fit properly. Her back hurt. She had sudden bursts of emotion, anger, sadness, confusion. She screamed at her guards without reason, then apologized in the next moment. That had never happened before. Her servants started whispering behind her back. Something was wrong with the queen. She ordered more tests. The healers studied her in secret, but no answer could change the truth. The hybrid child inside her was affecting everything: her body, her mind, even her soul. One healer dared to ask, "Do you wish to remove it, Your Majesty?" Queen Zaltria looked at him with a sharp gaze. For a moment, everyone thought she would kill him. But she didn't. "No," she said. "Let it grow." The healers exchanged glances. This was not like her. "Why?" one asked carefully. The queen looked up at the ceiling, as if searching for an answer. "I don't know," she said. "But this child is part of me now." More days passed. The queen stopped attending royal meetings. She stayed in her tower. She spoke less, but thought more. Her heart, once cold and calculating, now felt alive. And yet, fear also began to grow. If the council found out she was carrying a human hybrid, they would call her impure, unfit to rule. The royal laws were strict. No mixed blood on the throne. Soon, rumors began to spread. She looks tired. She hasn't left her tower. Is the queen sick? She knew it wouldn't be long before someone tried to find out the truth. Late one evening, as she stood in her garden under the silver moon, she whispered to the child inside her, "Who are you? What are you doing to me?" And for a moment, she felt a tiny kick. Her eyes widened. This life was real. More real than anything she had ever known. The hybrid truth. The palace of Sirion was silent at night, but Queen Zaltria could not sleep. She stood alone on her sky balcony, wrapped in a black cloak, staring at the twin moons. Below her, the great alien city still moved, lights blinking, ships flying, guards patrolling. But her world had changed. Inside her, the hybrid child grew stronger. And so did the questions. She had once called humans weak. Now, her own body was slowly becoming more like theirs. She didn't understand it. But even worse, she was beginning to feel things. Not just pain or anger, but warmth, softness, confusion, even fear. She didn't fear war. She feared the truth. She called her most trusted healer, Thelon, into her private chamber just after midnight. "I want a full DNA scan," she said. Thelon looked worried. "But my queen." "Do it," she ordered. "I need to know what this child truly is." He nodded, and the machines came to life. Blue lights circled around her body. A soft hum filled the room. The results began to appear on a floating screen. Zaltria narrowed her eyes as the screen flickered. Then, she saw it. Human DNA, 49%. Virex DNA, 51%. She stepped back. Her voice was quiet. "This child is nearly equal parts of both species." Thelon's voice trembled. "This has never happened before. No one believed it was possible. And yet it is," she whispered. The child inside her was not a failure. It was not weak. It was a living combination of two powerful species, made not by force, not by cloning, but by something she once laughed at. Natural creation. Thelon stared at the data. "It is growing fast and strong. It has both your energy and human adaptability. It could become something new, something greater." The queen sat down slowly, feeling the weight of it all. "What does this mean for our kind?" she asked. Thelon paused. "It means evolution." Zaltria closed her eyes. Outside, the wind howled softly against the glass. Inside, her heart beat slower, but heavier. The hybrid was not just alive. It was powerful. It had a future that could change everything. But the queen also knew, if the council found out, they would see it as a threat. And threats are destroyed. The next morning, a secret council meeting was called. Lord Rexon, leader of the war faction, had noticed the queen's absence. He had spies watching the palace. Whispers had already begun. "She hides something," one said. "She has changed," said another. "She grows weak like the humans," she mocked, said a third. They gathered in the dark chamber beneath the palace. The air was thick with tension. "She is unfit," Rexon hissed. "Our queen no longer leads with strength. She locks herself away, listens to healers, and avoids war councils. What is she hiding?" None dared to say it aloud, but they all thought the same thing. Something was wrong with Queen Zaltria. Meanwhile, above them, the queen was already preparing for what was to come. She wore simple clothing. No crown, no armor. She looked at herself in the mirror and saw her face, softer now, more human. She wasn't just changing on the outside. She was feeling things. And strangely, She didn't hate it. For the first time in her life, she didn't want to rule by fear. She wanted to understand. She wanted to protect. She wanted to feel. Thelon entered again, his face tense. "My queen, the council suspects." Zaltria nodded. "They will come for me soon." "Then what will you do?" She looked at her stomach. "I will protect this child. But you could lose the throne." "I don't care about the throne anymore," she said. "This child, it is more than a ruler. It is a bridge, a link between two worlds, between war and peace, hate and hope." Thelon looked at her with awe. "You are no longer just a queen." She smiled faintly. "No, I am something else now." Later that night, the palace shook. The council had sent a message. 10 royal guards entered her chamber without knocking. One of them, armored in gold, stepped forward. "Queen Zaltria, by order of the Royal Council, you are to be examined by the Science Board for genetic contamination." She stood tall. "You dare speak to your queen this way?" He hesitated. "The council believes you are no longer pure." Zaltria's eyes glowed with quiet power. "I carry life," she said. "Not a weapon, not a clone, but true life. If that makes me impure, then your system is broken." The guards looked at one another, confused. She wasn't resisting, but she wasn't obeying either. "I will not let you take this child," she said softly. Then, without warning, her energy pulsed. A wave of light pushed the guards back, knocking them to the floor. It was not an attack. It was instinct. Protective. Maternal. She didn't even try. It just happened. The hybrid inside her had responded to the threat. Thelon ran in seconds later. "They will come with more. Stronger ones." The queen looked at him calmly. "Then I must leave this place." He was shocked. "Leave? But you've never." "I am not the same woman I was," she said, "and I won't let them hurt what is growing inside me." As alarms rang through the palace, Queen Zaltria stepped into the shadows, her cloak around her, her hand resting gently over her stomach. The most powerful queen in the galaxy was now a fugitive. And inside her, a secret that could change the universe forever. The Queeness Gates. The royal palace of Sirion had never known such silence. No music, no footsteps, no light, only alarms. Red lights blinked in every hallway. Security bots floated through the air, searching room by room. Guards stormed corridors with glowing weapons, scanning every corner. Queen Zaltria was gone. The council had sent an army to bring her in, but they were too late. She had vanished, without a trace. Inside a small hidden tunnel beneath the palace, Zaltria moved quietly. Her cloak covered her tall frame. Her breathing was heavy. She pressed one hand against the wall for balance, and the other on her belly. The hybrid child inside her was growing stronger, and every movement reminded her that she was not the same anymore. Her body ached. Her heart beat like a drum. But her mind was clear. She had to survive. She reached the end of the tunnel and stepped into the open desert. The twin moons shone down on the red sand. Cold wind whipped her cloak, and in the distance she could see the black mountains of Threx Ridge, the only place still untouched by the council. It was where the exiles lived, the rebels, the ones who had left her rule long ago. And among them was a man, a human, Commander Jalen Ward. He had once been Earth's ambassador. He came in peace, but Zaltria had mocked him in public and banished him when he spoke against cloning. He had disappeared after that, hiding somewhere in Threx Ridge. Now he was her only hope. Behind her, the sky lit up with search drones. They had found the tunnel. She began to run. Back in the palace, Lord Rexon stood before the council. "She has fled. The Queen has betrayed us all. She carries a dangerous mutation inside her. If she reaches the humans, we lose control." The council members argued loudly. "We must stop her. She cannot leave the planet. Send the warships." But one voice, An old female named High Scholar Velra spoke quietly. "What if this child is not a threat?" Rexon glared. "Do not speak such weakness. This thing she carries is the end of Virex purity." Velra looked away. She had once seen the queen's heart before it turned to stone. Perhaps it was melting again. Out in the desert, Zaltria collapsed beside a rock. Her legs were shaking. Her body was not made for long travel. Not like this. Not while carrying a growing hybrid. But the child inside her kept her going. Every time she thought she might fall, she felt a soft movement inside. A kick. A pulse. A reminder. She was not alone. Hours passed. She walked across the burning sands of day and the frozen winds of night. At last, she reached the edge of Threx Ridge, a dark, rocky canyon guarded by old machines and broken towers. She stood in front of a scanner and whispered, "I seek the human." A red light scanned her eyes. Then, silence. Moments later, a voice replied through a speaker. "Which one?" She hesitated. "Jalen Ward." No answer. Then, "You have 10 seconds to explain why you come." She looked up. "I carry something he must see." More silence. Then, the gates opened. Inside the rebel base, Zaltria was led through dim tunnels lit by old human lights. The walls were covered in Earth languages, strange posters, and photos of lost homes. She saw things she never knew existed, paintings made by hand, small plants in jars, soft music playing in the distance. It was warm, human. A man stood waiting at the center of a chamber, his arms crossed. Tall for a human, with a deep scar across his cheek and gray in his beard. Jalen Ward. His eyes widened when he saw her. "Zaltria," he asked, shocked. "Why are you here?" She pulled back her cloak. "I need your help," she said. He looked at her, truly looked. Her face was tired, her body thinner, but her eyes were different. Not cold, not sharp. They held something he never thought he'd see. Fear. He stepped forward. "You're bleeding," he said softly. "It's not mine," she replied. "It's the child's." He froze. "Child." She nodded. "I carry a human Virex hybrid." He stared at her in disbelief. "You said that was impossible." "I was wrong." Silence filled the room. Then she spoke again. "They're hunting me. They will kill the child." Jalen sat down slowly. He had once dreamed of peace, of 2 worlds coming together. And now, standing in front of him, was proof that dream was real. He looked into her eyes and said, "I will protect you." Zaltria exhaled deeply, not from weakness, but from something new. Relief. Meanwhile, above them, warships flew over the desert, scanning every inch. They would not stop. They wanted the child. They wanted silence. But the queen had escaped, and the war had just begun. The human who changed her. Deep inside the rocky canyons of Threx Ridge, the hidden human rebel base hummed with life. Old machines clicked softly, lights flickered, and the smell of earth food drifted through the air, cooked on simple stoves. It was not grand like the alien palace of Sirion. It was not perfect, but it was real. Queen Zaltria sat quietly in a corner room, wrapped in a soft human blanket. She watched as small human children played with glowing balls, laughing freely. Their voices filled the halls, bouncing like music off the metal walls. Her glowing eyes followed every movement. She had never seen children like this before. Virex children were grown in labs, cloned, trained, cold and obedient. There was no laughter, no play. But these human children, they were alive in a way she didn't understand. She placed her hand on her stomach. The hybrid child inside her moved again, gently. For the first time, she smiled. Across the room, Jalen Ward watched her from a distance. His arms were crossed, but his eyes were soft. This was not the same alien queen who once stood tall and mocked human life. This woman was different. She was still strong, but something inside her had changed. Later, he walked over and handed her a warm drink. She looked at it with confusion. "What is this?" "Hot chocolate," he said, smiling. "You might like it." She took a sip. Her eyes blinked in surprise. "It's sweet," she said quietly. "Yeah," Jalen chuckled. "Humans have a thing for sweetness. Makes life feel easier." She held the cup gently in her long fingers. "I don't remember the last time I enjoyed anything," she said. "Everything I was taught was about power, control, and obedience." Jalen sat beside her. "And now?" She looked at the children again. "Now, I don't know what I believe anymore." Over the next few days, Zaltria stayed in the base, hidden from the outside world. Jalen showed her things from Earth: photos, music, food, and books. He explained emotions. He explained kindness. He told her about his family back on Earth, lost during the first contact wars. He told her how the Varex had seen love as weakness and destroyed anything they didn't understand. She listened, truly listened. One night, under the artificial sky dome of the Rebel Garden, she turned to him and asked, "Why do humans still hope?" He looked up at the stars and replied, "Because hope is what makes us human. It's not just about winning. It's about believing that tomorrow can be better." She was silent for a long time. Then softly she said, "I used to think love was weakness, but now I feel something. When this child moves inside me, my chest gets warm. When I see those children laugh, I feel like crying. I don't understand it." Jalen nodded. "You're becoming more human." She looked into his eyes. "Is that a good thing?" He smiled. "I think it might be the best thing that ever happened to you." But peace didn't last long. One morning, while Zaltria was resting, a loud alarm rang through the base. Jalen rushed to the control room. Red lights blinked. Screens showed incoming ships. Virex hunters. "They've tracked her signal," a rebel soldier said. "She's not safe here anymore." Jalen ran to Zaltria's room. She stood by the window, her eyes already glowing with awareness. "They're here," she said calmly. "You have to move," he told her. But she shook her head. "I can't run forever." "You don't have to," he said. "You just have to survive. For the child." She looked into his eyes. "Why do you care so much?" "I hurt your people. I mock your way of life." He stepped closer. "Because you're not that person anymore. I see it in you. You've changed. And maybe, just maybe, this child can change everything." She blinked slowly. Her voice was soft. "You believe that?" "I do." Then something happened, something she never expected. She reached out and touched his hand. Her fingers, long and glowing, wrapped around his human palm. It was the first time in her life she had touched someone not out of command or power, but out of trust. She whispered, "Thank you." The rebels packed quickly. Zaltria was placed in a transport with cloaking shields. Jalen went with her. They moved through underground tunnels, away from the base as Virex soldiers landed on the surface above. Explosions shook the rocks, but the Queen held calm. Inside the transport, Zaltria looked down at her belly. The child kicked again. "I don't know what this child will become," she said. "Alien? Human? Both? Or something new?" Jalen looked at her. "Whatever it is, it's the future." They drove in silence for a long time. Then she turned to him and asked, "Do humans ever name their children before they're born?" He smiled. "Yes, all the time." She thought for a while. "Then I want to name this child Naira." "Why Naira?" he asked. "In my language," she said, "it means hope born from the impossible." Jalen smiled. And for the first time, in a cold, uncertain galaxy, the Queen of the Virex felt like a mother. The hybrid is born. The wind howled through the mountain pass. Storms rolled over the desert as dark clouds covered the twin moons. Flashes of blue lightning lit the sky like angry fire. The air felt heavy, like something big was coming. Inside an old abandoned human outpost, deep in the cliffs of Kralos Ridge, Queen Zaltria lay curled on a thin bed, sweat dripping from her brow. Her cloak was soaked, her skin pale, and her breathing heavy. The hybrid child was ready to be born. Jalen Ward knelt beside her, holding her hand tightly. His voice was calm, but his eyes were full of worry. He had never seen her like this, so vulnerable, so human. "You're doing great," he whispered. "I can't," she groaned, her voice weak. "Yes, you can," he said. "You've survived more than anyone. You're stronger than you know." Zaltria screamed as another wave of pain hit her. Her body, once made for battle, was now struggling to understand what it meant to give life. Her sharp warrior instincts were no help now. This was not war. This was birth. Outside, rebel scouts stood watch. In the distance, bright lights appeared in the sky. Virex warships. Dozens of them. They had found her again. One scout activated his radio. "They're coming. Full fleet. They must have tracked her energy signature again." Inside, Jalen heard the message. He looked at Zaltria. "We're out of time." "No," she gasped, her teeth gritted. "This child must live." He touched her face gently. "Then we fight for her." Suddenly, a strange glow began to pulse from Zaltria's stomach. Soft, then stronger, then bright like a sun. The room filled with golden light. Jalen backed up, shielding his eyes. "What is that?" Zaltria couldn't speak. Her whole body trembled. And then, with one final cry, the hybrid was born. A wave of light exploded outward. For a moment, everything went quiet. Zaltria opened her eyes, and in her arms lay a small child. But not an ordinary child. Naira. Her skin shimmered like polished moonstone. Her eyes glowed blue and violet. Her tiny hands radiated warmth. And as she cried, soft sparks of energy floated from her mouth like stars. Jalen stared in awe. "She's beautiful." Zaltria cried, tears she didn't know she could produce. Virex did not cry, but now she did, because this was more than a child. This was life. Pure, powerful life. Then the ground shook. Explosions in the distance. The Virex army had landed. Dozens of warriors marched down the ridge, led by Lord Rexon himself, wearing full golden armor, eyes burning with hatred. "Bring me the queen," he growled, "and destroy the abomination." Inside the outpost, Jalen gently lifted Naira into a protective pod designed for newborns. Zaltria stood slowly, weak but determined. Her eyes still glowed. Her body was tired, but her spirit burned like fire. "They're here," Jalen said. "I'll face them," she replied. "You just gave birth," he protested. She looked at him with steel in her eyes. "Then they'll see what a mother can do." She stepped outside, the storm flashing above her. The army faced her, over 100 strong. Rexon raised his weapon. "You've fallen, Zaltria. Your blood is impure. You are no longer our queen." Zaltria didn't flinch. "You're right," she said. "I am something else now. I am more than a queen. I am a protector, a mother." "You carry a monster," Rexon shouted. "No," she said calmly. "I carry the future." Then she raised her hand, and behind her, the baby cried. That single cry echoed across the ridge, and something incredible happened. The Virex soldiers stopped moving. Their weapons dropped slightly. Their eyes widened, because the cry had not just been a sound, it had been a feeling. Warmth, peace, memory, light. For the first time, Virex soldiers felt emotions, and they were overwhelmed. Some dropped to their knees. Others covered their faces. One whispered, "What is this?" Naira's presence reached deep into their minds, touching something ancient and lost. Rexon roared in anger. "This is a trick." He raised his weapon and fired at Zaltria. A beam of golden energy shot toward her. But before it could hit, a shield appeared. Not from Zaltria, from the baby. Naira's glow flared bright. The blast stopped in midair, dissolved, and turned into soft light. Then the baby reached out, and the weapon in Rexon's hand shattered into dust. Zaltria stepped forward. "No more death," she said. "No more fear. You called me impure, but I am more alive than ever before." She held her baby high. "This child is not a mistake. She is hope." The soldiers began to lower their weapons. Confused, moved, changed. Rexon, seeing his power fading, turned to flee. But Jalen stepped in his path, and with one solid punch, sent him crashing to the ground. The storm above began to clear. The wind slowed. The stars appeared again. And in that moment, two worlds began to heal. Zaltria sat down on a rock, cradling Naira in her arms. Jalen sat beside her. "She saved us all," he said. "She did," Zaltria whispered, smiling through tears. "And so did you. Hope for two worlds." The sky over Kralos Ridge was clear for the first time in weeks. No storms, no warships, only sunlight and peace. Queen Zaltria stood at the top of a cliff, her long cloak blowing softly in the wind. In her arms, wrapped in warm cloth, was her daughter, Naira, the first hybrid of human and Virex blood. She looked down at the rebel camp below. Virex warriors and human rebels stood side by side, talking, not fighting, sharing food, watching the child who had changed everything. Zaltria couldn't believe what she was seeing. Just weeks ago, they had been enemies. Now, they were listening to each other, trying to understand, trying to hope. That morning, Zaltria met with the rebel council and the Virex elders. Jalen Ward stood beside her, acting as her voice when her body felt weak. The birth had changed her deeply, physically, mentally, emotionally. She still looked like a queen, but her heart was something new, something human. The meeting began in a large open chamber, half built by Virex stone, half by human steel. Two worlds, one table. Old Elder Velra from the Virex Council spoke first. Her voice was quiet, but firm. "For generations, we believed humans were weak. That emotion was weakness. But now, I have felt something new." She looked at the baby in Zaltria's arms. When Naira cried, I remembered my own childhood, a memory I had long forgotten. She showed me I still had a heart. The room was silent. Then a human leader, Captain Rice, stood. "My son died during the first Virex attacks. I hated all of you, but today I held that child for just 1 second, and I felt peace." He looked at Zaltria. "If she can exist, then maybe there's a future for both of us." Zaltria stood slowly, her voice soft but powerful. "My people once believed strength was only in muscles, in war, in control. I ruled that way for most of my life. I laughed at love. I mocked human softness." She looked at Jalen, then at her daughter. "But now, I understand. Love is not soft. It is powerful. To protect something, to care for someone, that is true strength." She held Naira high. "This child is not a symbol of shame. She is the start of a new age. She is hope for two worlds." A silence followed. Then the room slowly stood. One by one, humans and Virex bowed their heads in respect. Later that evening, as the sun set over the alien desert, a quiet celebration began. There was no music, just stories. Virex and humans sat in small groups, sharing tales of their families, their homes, their pain. Jalen sat beside Zaltria, holding a small plate of earth fruit. She tasted one and smiled. "It's sour," she said. "Try this one," he offered. She bit into it, then smiled again. Sweet. He chuckled. Some things in life are both. She looked at Naira, who was now asleep in a small blanket between them. So is she, Zaltria said. Sour and sweet. Strong and soft. Alien and human. Perfectly both, Jalen added. They sat together in silence, the stars above twinkling like distant lanterns. That night, Zaltria wrote something in her personal record, the first time she had ever kept a journal. Today, I learned that the heart can grow in silence, that even a queen can feel love, that even war can give birth to peace. My daughter carries both bloods. But more than that, she carries hope. Months passed. The war officially ended. Peace talks began between Earth and the Virex Empire. Queen Zaltria stepped down from her throne, but not in shame. In strength, she gave the crown to a younger, wiser council, one made of both humans and aliens. She and Jalen moved to a quiet moon orbiting the twin planets, far from cities and councils. They raised Naira in a home filled with stories, music, and stars. Naira grew fast. She could speak at 8 months, lift objects with her mind by the age of 1. Her laughter could calm wild creatures. Her touch could heal broken bones. She was not just a bridge. She was a miracle. When she turned 2, Naira looked up at her mother one evening and asked, "Mama, what am I?" Zaltria smiled, knelt beside her, and said, "You are the beginning of something beautiful." Years later, when people asked where peace began, stories were told across galaxies. Of a proud alien queen, of a brave human rebel, of a child born from 2 worlds, and of the moment the galaxy learned that true strength comes from love, not fear. The end.